Hey everybody, this is TJR. Eddie Trunk is an American radio personality and talk show host who largely discusses mostly hard rock and heavy metal music. Recently, I have been listening to a number of YouTube videos taken from his broadcast show where he has slammed hard rock bands for using backing tracks on their tours and basically for lip-syncing their vocals. His rants have mostly centered on his disdain for the band Kiss for using this practice on their recent End of the Road tour. But he has stated continuously that Kiss is not the only band guilty of this. Now, for the record, I should state that it's clear to me that Trunk is a fan of Kiss, and I want to state that I am too. I have all their albums from their original lineup period. Now, personally, I have not listened to any recent recordings of Kiss live over the last few years, but reportedly, Paul Stanley's voice is not what it used to be, which is sad because Paul Stanley, in my humble opinion, is one of the most underrated vocalists in rock history. He has been one of those exceptional rock vocalists who could actually deliver live what he has delivered in the recording studio. Also, I will add that Kiss as a band has always had a good reputation for keeping it real when it comes to performing live. Yes, I know, Kiss's Alive album had overdubs, but so did a lot of live albums in the 70s. By the way, I'm not condoning that, I'm just saying this is something that was. While Kiss has not openly admitted to this on their recent tour, in his rants, Eddie Trunk has cited recent incidents where Kiss has been caught in the act, in similar ways that Milli Vanilli and Ashlee Simpson were caught in the act due to equipment malfunctions. And in every case, he has asked the same questions. Why do fans put up with this? Do they just not know? Or do they just don't care? And this is what I'd really like to respond to in this video. To quote Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover, "This is America." I can't speak for other developed countries where music education is required, but for a long time, music education has not been a requirement in American public schools, and as a result, we have raised generations of musical illiterates. Now, I love using the sports example. Kids are required to play sports in junior high school and high school. So even if they never play on a professional level, they gain some basic sense of the commitment and hard work that is required in order to play sports on a professional level. But for decades, kids have not been required to have any kind of musical education, so they don't develop any real sense or even appreciation for the level of hard work and commitment that it takes to perform music at a professional level. And this carries on into adulthood. So the answer is yes, they don't know. They can't tell that the bands are faking it, that they're lip-syncing, that they're basically listening to the record. Over the years, I have discovered that most kids and plenty of adults have little understanding about how music is even produced. And I'll give you a real-life example. The downtown shopping district in Anaheim, California is littered with solo musical performers who mostly perform to pre-recorded backing tracks. One such performer, whose name I can't remember, was a drum and percussion player. His performance setup included an array of percussion and drum instruments that he would have set up on all these stands that surrounded him in like a circle. He would play his drums to a pre-recorded orchestral musical score. These were his backing tracks. And I'll be honest, it was his backing tracks that did all the heavy lifting. I'm not saying that he wasn't a good musician, he probably was. But what he was performing was not terribly difficult, and it was mostly all show. During his performances, he would employ really big, larger-than-life dramatic gestures. He would have a large pair of drum mallets in both hands, and he would strike his drum instruments using big, really big dramatic gestures like this, you know. These gestures are very theatrical, but mostly unnecessary to performing the music. And there's nothing wrong with this. Guitarists have done this for years. Pete Townsend with his whirlwind, type of guitar playing when he would hit power chords, These type of things are show. But what he actually played was really quite simplistic. And it was, once again, these backing tracks, this orchestral score, that did all the real musical work. But audiences, and I'm referring to shoppers at the district, were absolutely enthralled by him. And at first I thought, well, it's the theatrics. But to my surprise, I would discover by talking to these audiences after his performances that a large portion of them thought that all that orchestral music was coming out of his drums. Drums cannot produce musical notes. I would think this would be obvious to anyone, but to random shoppers at the downtown Disney shopping district, this was not the case. They thought that this orchestral music that requires woodwind instruments and string instruments, and yes, even some percussion instruments to produce, was coming from one person striking drums with a mallet. So in closing, I would like to state that I do agree that there are some concert attendees who don't care because they just want to say that they were at the event. They're going there for the event, not a live performance. But I think more so that audiences are unfortunately so musically illiterate that they just don't know. And they can be fooled. And a lot of bands who were once fearful of being called out on this now realize that they can fool these audiences. In his rants, Eddie Trunk has also stated that he feels that the practice of using backing tracks is unacceptable for rock music, and that rock fans and musicians who really do play live need to call it out and reject it. And Mr. Trunk, I agree with you. Live is what you pay for. Sometimes it will sound like the record and sometimes it won't. Sometimes that's going to include mistakes, but it also includes rare, one-of-a-kind moments that can only happen when you actually play live. If you want the record, stay at home and listen to that. This is TJR. What are your thoughts on this? Please share that in the comments. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please click like, click subscribe, and be sure to click the notifications icon so you can know when I release new videos. And if you want to help me make more videos, please consider becoming a patron supporter. Pledging as little as just 1 cup of coffee a month can make a huge difference. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this. Take care. Bye-bye.